on the whole, it's great. It's got Frank and Eddie working together. Who'd have ever thought that? It's got Ben Shalom on the same car, you know. Who'd have thought they'd have worked with him? And Richie's like one of the nicest, kind of calmest, like outside the ring, placid guys. And after about 20 minutes, he went over and he went, "Look, mate, you've got to go." But one of the Conlon brothers had his own board and he went, "Oh, I heard you're the man." 2-0. Whichever Conlon that was, you're a good player, but 2-0. I work like in the grassroots in Birmingham. We've got an amateur club at the gym as well. If people follow our page and that, they'll see that we take an enormous amount of kids off the streets and they've got something to do because there's not many youth clubs and stuff. People don't know I was a youth worker when I was younger, so I've got experience in that kind of side, and it was underfunded 20 odd years ago when I did it.
Welcome to B2B Birmingham. Today's episode, we're very lucky to have Jon Pegg as our guest. Jon, thank you ever so much for taking the time today, mate. I know you're extremely busy.
Thanks for coming, mate.
You know,
I think you've had a busy morning, haven't you?
gets me out of the gym for half hour. You've actually done me a favour, so it's all good.
We're still off camera, so who have you had in this morning and what have you set up?
This morning, it's just like a beasting session on a Monday. We get them back after the weekend. We start the week how we mean to carry on. This morning, we had Sam Egginson in the gym, who's getting ready for a really big fight in Birmingham at the Resorts World Arena against Lee Cutler. Title to be decided. There will be a title, but Sam's won that many titles. He honestly doesn't care. He just more cares about the fight. We've got Shakan Pitters fighting for the European title in London against a good Frenchman on April the 4th. We had Jessica Barry, who a month ago made history by becoming the first female English champion when she won a decision in Birmingham, beating Chelsea Arnell. She's defending that English title and challenging for the Commonwealth Silver on Scott Murray's Excelsior Club show over in Cannock, and that is March the 6th. We had Niall Berry in, Chelmsley Wood lad, very hot prospect. He's fighting for the English title, super bantamweight, at the famous York Hall in Bethnal Green against Louis Frimpong. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how it's spelt. And that's a big fight for Niall. It's a very, very winnable fight, and he's looking good. We had Ryan Whelan. He's fighting for the Midlands area title. That's just been postponed through injury, but we're obviously rescheduling it. So he's just keeping his training going. We've had to scale it down a touch so he doesn't peak too early. And then we had guys in the gym who were just getting ready for fights. Tyler Rivers, lad from Leicester, very good fighter. Casey Benjamin, another Chelmsley Wood lad who's just back in after he, basically got married and got fat.
Yeah, I shot his wedding video.
Yeah, so
he didn't look fat in while he was getting ready.
No, because he was getting ready for it then. Trust me, he got fat since then. And then we had a few others, but at the moment we've got 16 professionals in the gym. Obviously some of them work, so they train at different times, but there's not many professional gyms with that many pros actually under one roof. And we work with a number of other gyms in Birmingham, Sean Cogan, Anthony Hull at DNA Gym in Sturchley. We work with the Coventry lads, Box Clever, Brendan Norman at Bulkington, and we integrate all these lads onto different shows, making a really good Midlands feel. But yeah, it's going really well. There's some good fighters there. We've got.
You sound flat out. So you helped to formulate those shows and
some of the shows I match make them, where I like the Cannock shows. I will match make them and make sure the fights are good. Some of the shows we put on, which is really tough because at small hall level, it's impossible to make a penny. Usually you lose money, but it's the way to get the lads the chance to box at home. But if you're the away fighter, everything's against you. So we have to take that on the chin and do it because it's part of the job. So we do those ourselves. And then we've got a training team, myself, Paul Coonahan and Louis Coonahan. Paul at the moment is he's away on his brother's 60th birthday, so it's tough in the gym. But we've got a good solid training team. And I also manage all those lads as well. So yeah, so it's pretty busy, but I like doing it. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd be in the gym. That's where I'd be. Like, obviously I try and earn a wage out of it, but if I was a really wealthy man, that's where I'd be. That would be my place. I wouldn't be going golfing or something. So if you can be somewhere where you would be for free, and that's how you do your job, you're kind of winning, ain't you? Mm-hmm. So,
Quality.
So can I just take you back then?
Yeah.
So anyone that knows boxing will know who you are. But for those that don't or have lived under a rock and don't know who you are, brief introduction to yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Right. I'm a boxing coach primarily, but through being a boxing coach, you become a manager, you become a matchmaker, promoter to make sure that the job's done right for your lads. I've had a license since the early 2000s. I work like in the grassroots in Birmingham. We've got an amateur club at the gym as well. If people follow our page and that, they'll see that we take an enormous amount of kids off the streets and they've got something to do because there's not many youth clubs and stuff. People don't know I was a youth worker when I was younger. So I've got experience in that kind of side, and it was underfunded 20 odd years ago when I did it.
Yeah.
And now it's terribly underfunded and almost wiped out. So we, like, on an average gym night, we got 30 kids in there learning discipline, not being out and about under bad influences. And then some of them are good enough to turn professional, and we've got a stage for them. And some of our guys have come from our amateurs when they're 12-year-olds all the way to becoming champions as professionals and changing their lives. But yeah, I work with boxers. I'm lucky enough as well that I'll get called into some other training camps, purely like I do cuts, or I'll get called in from my experience to help. Peter Fury's someone who has me with his fighters, and I've worked like undisputed world title fights with the likes of Savannah Marshall, and you know, so I've been really lucky. You know, there were 15 years ago, I'd have been paying to watch those fights, and I'm lucky enough to because they're all good people. Most boxers are good people. I'm lucky enough to mix with them and to help on their team. It's like a dream come true. Mick Hennessy has me in all these fighters' corners just to add what, you know, the little bit of experience I've got. Fran Hennessy's a little superstar. She'll be a future world champion, and they've just spent four days in Birmingham. They come down, stopped over, because Fran was getting some quality sparring with Jess Barry, bringing them both on. And his son come down as well, who he's retired at the moment, but I don't think it'll last. You can see he's getting itchy knuckles. So Mick brought the whole team down. Mick brought the whole team down. We had them down. We have Peter Fury comes to our gym once a week to bring, and Peter's trained some really good guys. He brings them there for his sparring because he knows that you get the great sparring. Peter also sends his nephews, an amateur, James Dean Fury. He sends him down for when he's not there for his sparring, and he's just won the NABCs. So we've got a good reputation in the boxing world. We're quite well known. Our fighters, well, they don't win every fight, which, you know, nobody does really, unless you're Rocky Marciano or Floyd Mayweather. But they got a reputation for a proper fight. Every time they fight, they leave it out there. Yeah. They put it out there that you've been in a fight, win or lose. And I think a lot of that stems from Sam Eggington, who's like the veteran of our gym now. He's been around forever, but still only 31 and going strong.
Is that all he's 31?
Just turned 31,
wow.
but it seems like he's
been forever.
Yeah, and the amount of fights he's had. But the kind of people who join our gym, like Jess Barry, when she joined, she'd done like a question and answer, and when asked who her favourite boxer was, Sam Eggington, and now she trained alongside him, and they have the same mindset as him because, you know, he's got an absolutely unreal mindset, to be honest, and that rubs off with our fighters. It kind of like they realise that to be a good fighter, you've got to be prepared to take fights. Yeah. You can't be a diva and
that's what known for, isn't it?
So it rubs off. And also the good thing is they've saw that you can lose and you're not wrote off, because a lot of gyms or a lot of promoters, you lose and I think you're done. But they've seen through Sam, through proof is in the pudding, that Sam's had losses, dust himself off, improved and become a better fighter. So our fighters are not scared of a good fight because they've seen that it's not the end of the world. Yeah. They've seen the team don't give up on them. Yeah. And they've seen that you can actually improve from a loss, maybe more than wins. Yeah. Because when you win, you don't think you have to do anything better. So when you lose, you're soul searching, thinking, what have I got to do better? So yeah, so that's what we do. That's our gym. It's it does a lot of good and it's also a lot of fun. You know, it's people often say, oh, you've got all good guys in your gym, and I say, yeah, because I don't know if this lad's put on, but the dickheads don't last because they just don't, because everyone got, you know, our show yesterday, we had one lad on the show from our gym. He was other lads that I manage, and the whole team turned up and was there supporting. Brilliant. So, you know, so we've got a good camaraderie and it you know, it kind of, sometimes a boxing match is so close, so tough. 1% might be enough to win it. And that camaraderie of your team being there, or training next to someone where you want to throw one more punch in a friendly, competitive way, that can be the difference in a tough fight. So we got that advantage, you know what I mean?
Great. I mean, you boxed briefly as pro, didn't you?
Yes, I wasn't a very good pro, to be honest.
No, is it a particular fight moment that made you think?
No, I just realised I wasn't good enough. I might have turned pro too early, but I'll be honest, I don't think whenever I turned pro. As an amateur, I was decent. I won Midlands titles, got through to quarterfinals. I boxed some really good people as an amateur and good fights with them. And I turned pro at 19. And now as a coach, I realise that it's only very special fighters who can turn pro at that age. Like Sam turned pro at 18 and was winning titles at 19. But most people, there's a reason why Carl Froch won his first title, big title at 30, because he matured and he was ready. Yeah. I turned pro at 19 thinking it's the same as the amateurs. And also I didn't realise I was the away fighter. Like I lost, I think, 4 fights on half a point. And I was like, surely I should have got one of them.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of the fights I lost by way more than half a point, you know, but
yeah.
But and then I realised afterwards that the away fighter doesn't get much luck. But because I wasn't doing it for money, I was doing it because I love boxing. I was like, I'm not good enough, which I probably wasn't anyway. But if I'd have done it a bit more smart, and that's why I wanted my fighters to have the solid structure and the honesty of, oh, if you're in the away corner, trust me, this is how hard it is. If you're in the home corner, we're going to do it this way. So that's kind of influence what I do.
Going back to what you just said, you've learned from that experience then to...
And I've tried to make it better, yeah. I've tried to make it so, like I always sit people down and tell them how hard it is in the away corner if they choose that route, because you can do it that way, because we've had fighters who've done it that way. But yeah, so I realised that I wasn't even 21, but I just thought to myself, I'm not good enough. So I drifted away from boxing for a few years. And then once I understood it, I started getting back in, but I thought, you know what? I know how good champions are. I'm not going to be a big champion. I'm not doing it for money because, you know, I didn't want to do it that way. So I started doing coaching, and everyone has a different route. And boxing, as a boxer, would never have took me around the world. It would never have put British, European, Commonwealth, world title belts in my hands. But as a coach, it has. So everyone's got a different vocation. And like coaching, I'm up there with almost anyone. I can coach. I've been in the opposite corners to the top coaches in the world, and my guys are giving fights. As a boxer, I'd never have done that. Not in a million years. Yeah. So I found my vocation, and the experience as a boxer, I think, helped that. It's all a journey. And the one good thing about having a few losses as a pro and getting on with it, like I say, I weren't a bad amateur. I weren't the best, but I weren't bad. I never got to the age I am now and gone, oh, what if? That's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
I know that I trained really hard. That's why I never got chinned. I lost fights, but I never got chinned because I was really fit and I trained really hard and I wasn't good enough. So now I'm totally comfortable because I know guys who didn't turn pro who were good, and they're like, oh, what if I did? Or they're down the pub doing the typical, I could have been this.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I know that I wasn't good enough. I had a good try at it. I enjoyed it. So I'm cool with that. So the good thing is
like sliding doors,
no regrets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know that I tried and I wasn't good enough. Yeah. Nothing worse than regrets, nothing worse than what ifs. Yeah. So I try not to have what ifs in life. I'd rather know that I weren't good enough or that weren't for me. That's why I try so many different things than saying, oh, what if, and then getting to an age where you can't, because I couldn't do it now. Yeah. And I'll be thinking, could I have? And that's a horrible feeling. So that's what I try and, that's how I try and live life, really.
Do you ever get much the other way, kind of delusion where you have to tell fighters this isn't for you, or I don't think you're gonna get to where you think you're gonna get?
All the time, because every fighter has to be slightly delusional, because winning at boxing is hard, and that's why a lot of boxers are slightly crazy, to be honest. Because if you're not, you won't go through that final stage of fear where 99% of us go, oh, we might die here. Championship boxers just go a bit like Victoria Cross medal winners. Perhaps I'm overstating it there, but that kind of mindset where 99% of us normal will just go, no, this ain't right. They go through it, they embrace it, they kind of they're a different breed. And so you have to have a little level of delusion to do that, because you've got to be a bit crazy. But that's the team's job to kind of mould that and keep it realistic. Maybe aim for a title a bit lower than if they win that. Let's aim there, and so you do get it, and then you'll get guys who are on another scale. I remember was working with Richie Woodall, the ex-world champion and Olympian and an actor as well.
Yeah.
And a guy had been on the phone to him, and Richie was still quite fresh out of boxing in as a coach quite a few years ago. And this guy had been telling him, been in the army, I've had over 100 fights, I've won this, I've won that. And Richie was going, I think I've got a really good prospect here, because he was coach. I went, so I never really heard of him, I says, I'm pretty good like that. That's what I'm known for, good memory. And Richie was like, no, he's coming down. And we was doing over Telford then. We was travelling to Telford, the Birmingham guys. And he'd been on to Richie every day, telling him this. And we walked in the gym, because we always used to get there a little bit later, because we was coming from Birmingham, the traffic and stuff. And there's a guy, like literally flailing away on the bag, like someone who never trained in their life. And Richie's gym was just professionals. We weren't even, there was no keep fitters or anything.
Yeah.
And I walked in, I went, who's that? And Richie went, that's that guy. I went, the army guy. He went, yeah, him. I says, don't look like he's had 100 fights to me, mate. He went, no, he doesn't, does it? And Richie's like one of the nicest, kind of calmest, like outside the ring, placid guys. And after about 20 minutes, he went over and he went, look, mate, you've got to go. You've took the piss, haven't you? He says, you've got to go. And the guy was like, and he genuinely didn't know what he'd done wrong. And it was obvious. Not only has he never boxed, he'd never had a fight in his life. Do you know what I mean? Because you get some guys who've never boxed, but they're still handy. But it was just like, and Richie was fuming, because we'd been saying, like, Rich, and he's like, no, he's told me. And because Richie's such a nice person, he just trusted him, because Richie's probably never told a lie in his life. Do you know what I mean? He's that type. He's like, he's so straight. So he expects other people to be so straight. And they got, and like, he could see that we was finding it hilarious. And he was like, yeah. And he didn't even let him finish the session. So you do get that level of delusion where it's kind of like, it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Because a novice trainer might believe that guy and put him in with a champion. And sometimes most boxers are nice, but you get the odd one who's pretty vicious. And someone might go, I like real KO here, even though it's in the gym.
Yeah.
So, and so, it's different levels.
Yeah.
It's learning to manage it and having the experience to deal with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I was going to ask at the end, but all right now. So I've signed up to do like a charity white collar boxing event.
Okay.
Where do you stand with white collar boxing?
Not something I get involved in, or no. Well, actually, I have, so I can't say that. But I wouldn't do corners and stuff if it's done correctly. Yeah, why not? If there's medicals done and if it's matched correctly, great. Two guys who've never boxed, who train for 8 weeks, they're going to do 2-minute rounds. It's like amateur boxing for the lower level. They won't really hurt each other. Although Fabio Wardley done white collar boxing.
I was going to say Fabio
I've done
Wardley
a tweet on that actually went crazy viral, because I says, imagine Dave from Accounts signs up for a charity white collar box, and Fabio Wardley's in the other corner. I said 3 weeks later, they're still looking for his George, you know what I mean? And that tweet went crazy. But so if it's done correctly and done safely, it's such a good discipline. But the trouble is, and this is where if you're doing one, you must check it out. Check out the background, check out the other shows, because there's ex-pros, there's kickboxers, there's real hard cases who like a bit of showing off and filling in someone who's never really, they might not have boxed, but they've had a million fights and they've got that bit about them that, so you've got to do, if Dave from Accounting is doing a white collar show, he should be going in with Jeremy from Insurance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. He should not be going in with Killer Kowalski from the Zulus, who's had a million fights, or big fat bloke, but you find out he had 30 pros 20 years ago, because it still counts, trust me.
Yeah.
So done correctly and properly. I am a good friend of mine, God rest him, he's passed away. He used to sponsor the gym. Gary Redmond's used to run Lima Recruiting. He was into everything, and he's friends with the ballet master from the Birmingham Royal Ballet, a guy called Dominic Antonucci. And Dominic's been a lifelong fan, obviously being a principal ballet guy. He's fit, and he wanted to do a white collar. And he asked Gary, and Gary went, the only way I'll support you on this is if you come and meet my friend, train with him, and he says, okay, he knows the fundamentals. And it was done really well. He was like matched properly and all that. Dominic come round, he still comes to the gym now. We've become really good friends. And he won on points. Like I say, he had the edge because he was training with pros, the other guy wasn't. So that was his edge. But to be fair, he was 15 years older than the guy.
Right.
So there was swings and roundabouts. But so if it's done correctly and you can check the background of the shows and you check that there's no ringers, there's no stupidness, there's good medical checks, I'm like that. It's not my thing because, and like I say, but if it's done correctly, it's a good experience for people involved.
Yeah.
But you've seen like the newspaper clipping where a mom of 4 went to lose some weight. 4 weeks later, she was in with this like big, like I think she was either an ex or basketball player, about 2 foot tall, and she just got smashed to bits in about 15 seconds. No, that's that's where it's wrong. But like I say, not my thing.
Her or Fabio Wardley just turn around and walk out.
I've got to admit, now I've met you, I'd buy a ticket for that. Yeah. No, I'm only joking.
That's how I'm hoping to sell tickets on the strength of.
When we were younger, and it was something similar. He got paired up with this girl who was like 2 foot bigger than him.
Paired with a girl, but
She bad.
I hit her in the face and made a nosebleed quite early. She had long blonde hair, so she's a mess of, and I didn't fight after.
So you can't win there.
No, I didn't.
If you don't hit, she's going to belt you.
Yeah,
if you do
she won.
hit,
She won. I didn't hit her again. So only about 9 or 10 at the
I
time.
love your get out of jail free card. Yeah, didn't want to hit a girl, so
Could get nearer.
she had a bloody
Thankfully,
nose.
she's unavailable for comment because her story might be different.
She's on a podcast going, but what about your 2 black eyes and the 3 standing cows?
It was my long blonde hair, really. She puts my nose.
But yeah, so in it done properly, it's like amateur boxing done properly. It's great.
Yeah.
Done it same as pro boxing. You see some of these matches where you're like, oh no, but in pro boxing, there's a good chance that one of them is going to be deadly. So if it's done properly, people can, look at the Misfits.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but people earn a lot of money, and they're kind of matched correctly. It's when but you can be overmatched in any kind of combat sport, but the white collar, because there's no real
Regulations.
or anybody watching it.
Yeah.
That's where you got to be careful, because I've heard some horror stories. So, like I say, I don't go anywhere near it. A lot of gyms do. The reason I had to check myself, I suddenly remembered Dominic, but Dominic's was a genuine kind of like a personality from the ballet, and certainly. And he was done quite well, so I let him train with us, and he's become a good friend. And I've even been and watched the ballet, so
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. Let's go to your matchroom events in town. So obviously, the buzz of Birmingham. What was it like for?
No, we are going back.
We are
2015.
Yeah.
Like, talk about Sam Eggington's age. So this was, I remember going into town. At the time, a decorator used to work with us. His son, Dan Breeze, he'd just started boxing.
Dan boxed for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah.
Dan was such a talent. See, I always used Dan as a cautionary tale. His dad, lovely, Breeze, what a nice guy. But Dan was turned pro early because he was a bit susceptible to outside influences. Turned pro early to get him, and he was 10-0, good fighter. And I always say to people, if you want to look at a talented kid who let it get to waste, and now Dan's beating people up on bare knuckles, 16 stone. He's such a good fighter. He can give away 6 stone and still beat people. But he was one who got away. Could have been a champ, and just discipline and outside influences. And he knows it. I still chat to Dan. I stay close with all the boxers I've worked with because I do it because I enjoy it. But yeah, Dan, you could have been a champ, and it. And kids who are coming through, look at Dan Breeze's box rec, then Google him and see what he's doing now. If you met the wrong choices, and poor Dan should have been a champ, and good fighter, really good fighter. And he boxed on some of them shows.
Yeah.
That's how good he was. They wanted him on them shows.
Yeah.
And,
What was it like back then? Of the buzz around, because we talk about it against Sam.
Well,
At that time
Sam
was
really started bringing those shows back.
Yeah.
Barry Hearn loved Sam. He took a real liking to him. He was like his project because people who looked at Sam were saying to me, "You're wasting your time. He won't win a Midlands title." And I was like, "Oh no, he's got something." And Barry Hearn saw that. Barry Hearn's the smartest man I've ever dealt with, and he's so smart. He plays it off. He plays it off like it's all fluke and all luck. When you have a meeting with him, he says A, B, C, D. He laughs and jokes, and you're thinking, is he joking? Or, because it sounds a bit crazy, within 12 months, A, B, C, D has happened. Smartest man I've ever met. He's so good. If ever you want a fun half hour, Barry Hearn took on 12 lords in a debate over who got to use the Olympic football ground or something. And he knew he wasn't going to win because it'd already been decided. But he just took them on for the love of it. And you watch it, and he's playing them off against each other. He's catching them. And these are 12 intelligent kind of top people. And he's just on his own.
Toying with them.
And he's just, no, because he's having it tough. But you can see he's loving the challenge. And he's so clever, and he knows his stuff, you know. And he really took to Sam. And, like, if you remember, when Anthony Joshua fought here in a non-title fight, and you had Matthew Macklin, Cal Yafai, Callum Smith. Sam was the only 12-round fight on that card. They was all doing 8s and 10s. He was doing a 12-rounder at 20 years old against an African for the Commonwealth title. And then, you know, he fought Frankie Gavin here, which was huge. That night we had 7 fights on a TV card of 12. So it was 7 of our fighters from our gym, 5 in title fights.
Wow. And
we won 3 of them, which was underdogs. And the 2 that we were favourites in, we lost. So that's boxing for you. Dan Bruce was on that show. And
buzz around Birmingham back then, weren't there?
Yeah. And it's building back up now, and we're not quite so involved. But that's good, because at the time there was we was pushing things and our gym was doing strong, but then other gyms have come and gone, oh, we can do stuff in Birmingham. So I'd like to be involved more than we are. But the fact is, other gyms are getting their guys in and doing stuff. And I think it's a resurgence. So on a kind of personal level, I'm like, oh man, I wish we had more. But on a kind of Birmingham level, I'm buzzing that there's gyms battling for them places and different people are getting them. So
Did you work on the rivalries? We was talking off camera about the promoting the fights. So Frankie Gavin and Sam and Macklin and Yafai. And do you work on that then, or do they genuinely not like
Some
it?
people do. We've never been a fan of it, and that's sometimes where we suffer. Because a lot of the TV promoters want this fake beef.
Yeah.
And I'm not a trash talker, and the gym's not. We're just not that way. We're about fighters. As far as I'm concerned, and TV doesn't agree with it, I've got in trouble for saying that. Sam's won 2 Fight of the Year awards. He won the Boxing Writers Boxer of the Year, which is hugely prestigious. But somebody talking bollocks at a press conference or flipping a table over gets more attention, and they want that
Social
more.
media, arguing on Twitter.
Yeah. And I'm like, surely being an exciting fight accounts for more. And I've been told, no, it doesn't.
No. Well, that's what Misfits is.
Well, yeah, you know, so perhaps they're right, and they probably are right, because they've got the big jobs and I haven't. But for me, being a good fighter's worth more. Frankie and Sam, that was pretty genuine.
Yeah, because I remember originally he broke his foot. He could get his foot run over. It was the Blues Villa game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because they'd gone to that one. He was away at Villa, wasn't it?
And
someone ran over his
Sam
foot.
fought Dale Evans instead. And you know the mad thing is, Sam might not have won that fight, because he learned in the next fight or so, because Sam was at such a formative age and learning on the job, because he was literally getting thrown into 12-rounder after 12-rounder. He was learning every single fight. So perhaps everything happens for a reason, but yeah. And Frankie and his supporters kind of done the job for me.
Yeah.
Because Sam's quite laid back, and for someone who fights how he does, very laid back. And I'm good friends with Bradley Skeet now through the association with Mick. And to be fair, we was afterwards. There's a video floating around somewhere with Bradley Skeet and Sam pushing my car down the motorway. We was going to spar and we broke down. And I says, imagine a boxing fan driving past and going, they fought each other 6 months ago, and they're pushing on their hard shoulder the M25.
Good double take.
Yeah. So, and Bradley actually says to me, because he went straight up to Sam and he went, I'm really a big fan of what you do. You're a good fighter. I'm looking forward to fight. And Sam was like, oh, he's nice. And Bradley, I chatted to Bradley, he went, I'm not stupid. He says, do you think I'm annoying that monster? He says, and Bradley's smart, man. He says, I'm just calming him down. And it worked, because Sam isn't. When he fights, he's fierce, but he's quite laid back.
Yeah.
But Frank and his fans were calling him names, and Sam was in the gym and he was eating the bag more than I could have asked him to, going, oh, he's getting it. And like he would have gone through a baseball bat that night to the head. You see, like, and you could see in the fight he was ferocious. And when they were saying things, I was just kind of like going, "Yeah, keep going, lads. You're doing my job for me."
Killing with kindness is the way.
Yeah, Bradley actually says he went up and went, "You're a good fighter, really looking for." And then Bradley was just touching
And then that threw him off, maybe threw Sam off a bit to be like, "Oh,
and he just weren't as motivated.
The thing with the Gavin fight, weren't he? At the time, the idea was he'd have too much. He was too cultured for him, wasn't he? They're on different levels. He's not. And by the time they actually fought, he walked him down, and
you'll probably see interviews where people was like, exactly that. Oh, he's a different level. And in the end, I went, Sam's a different level. And they all looked at me like I was mad. I went, we're not talking about boxing. I said, we're not coming for a boxing match. We're coming for a fight. I says, and Sam's a different level at fighting. Yeah. I says, if we have a boxing match, you're right. He's a different level. He's a different stratosphere. I said, we're not coming for a boxing match. I said, we're coming for a fight.
For a war.
I says, and Sam's a different level to everyone at that.
Yeah.
And then I think they kind of went, and that's what happened. They had a fight. And Frankie come to our gym afterwards, and Frankie's been a friend for years. I've helped Frankie where I can, and he helps us, and we're friends. But when you're having a boxing match and, you know, you're not friends anymore and you've got to do that job. But no, we're good friends now, and Frankie comes to our shows, and he's a good guy. And, you know, people forget when we're talking about Birmingham, Frankie was Britain's first and only ever male world gold medalist. He's still got that distinction. He done loads for Birmingham. He brought big shows here and stuff.
Again, it's someone that was speaking to try and get him on, because again, he was champion in Birmingham at the time.
Yeah. And Frankie
continues to do so.
If you have Frankie on, make sure you've got your beeper ready. Yeah.
We put a disclaimer on the bottom of the videos.
Yeah. Frankie's mad, you know. Honestly, he's mad, and he will say whatever enters his head.
Perfect.
So yeah. If you want the views, great. But if you want to be sued, then that might be what says that. So no, Frankie's good fun. He's good fun. But yeah, he was at our gym for 3 fights.
Yeah.
And him and Sam trained together, and you know that's boxing for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a real good resurgence, and it's happening now. And you know, but like I say, you go back. Say what was that? 2004. Go back 10 years before that. We was a ghost town. A couple of times we had a couple of big fights fought about. We had a riot at the NEC, and the promoters were scared to death of that. And we had this reputation for all our good fighters weren't in Birmingham. They'd all gone elsewhere because they thought we was a city of journeymen, which we kind of was. But now we've got good fighters, and we're kind of feared. You got the Yafais, you know, Cal become Birmingham's first world champion. Galal's going great strengths. Gamal.
JK's talking about Spider.
Yeah, Spider was with us since he was 7. And then when he went pro, JK took him a different route, and, you know, it happens. But yeah, Spider was with us from when he was 7 till 2 years ago.
He's looking good, isn't he?
He's a prospect. He's on the walls in Eastside Gym. He won his first national titles with us. He won his ABA title with us. He won his England vest with us, you know. That's what I'm saying. Our gym, our gym brings them through. Our gym brings them. You know, there's not many good fighters who haven't been some way involved in our gym, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, no. Spider's a good fighter, man. He's very skillful. He's it's mad because there's a lot of brothers, and they was all good amateurs. All his brothers boxed for us as well. None of them have quite done what Spider did, or not even got close actually. But they was all talented amateurs. And honestly, there's about 11 of them. And I think there's some of the younger ones who are boxing now, not for us. Yeah. But yeah, no, Spider's a good fighter. But yeah, no, there's some good fighters really good fighters coming through.
The COVID era.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Firstly, gyms closing, don't go near each other, no groups. And then obviously coming through that and trying to keep things ticking over to fighting in Eddie Earn's back garden and putting that show on and shows of that time.
Crazy, by the way, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, the craziest bit was getting in there. We had to, they were so strict. You had to go to a hotel every, like something out of ET, and be tested. Then you had to wait in your room for 24 hours until you got a knock at the door and you got a wristband, or you got sent home. So that was a bit mad. But honestly, the COVID era, it was kind of good for me, because we had a gym with professional athletes. So we was allowed to open the gym. But one of the biggest things of our gym is the traffic. It takes me 40 minutes to get there. In COVID, it's taking 5 minutes.
Brilliant.
The parking, brilliant. So everybody else was having staying I was at, and I don't do much apart from the gym and some of my other outside interests. Couldn't do them, but so I was kind of doing what I normally do. The roads was empty. The boxers couldn't cheat. So deep down, I was kind of like, yeah, there's obviously drawbacks, fucking, I had COVID. And while I had it, this sounds horrible. I'm lying in bed. The first time I had it bad. My neighbour died of it. My wife come in and told me that Val next door had died while I was lying in bed with COVID. I can't remember because I was literally quite bad. They sent all the stuff out. And afterwards, I says, I haven't seen Val for a few days. She went, oh, Val died of COVID. I was like, she was quite old. And I said, oh, she went, I told you why he was in bed. I went, and I'm glad I can't remember that. I said, why would you tell me while I'm lying there with that virus?
I'm sure you'll be fine.
That someone next 10 foot away on the other side of that wall has died with that. I says, are you? And she went, oh,
Well,
think of it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Thankfully, the lucid
so
feed.
yeah, so that were nice, but like the whole kind of like the in the bubbles was a different scenario, and like the Wembley ones, we went the ones in Eddie Hearn's back garden was crazy because we'd been there a lot. So Barry, we used to go there every fight to sit down, over talk the fight, but to be there like that with no kind of crowd, and I caused a big stink because when Sam got that terrible decision against Cheeseman, I turned round and I went, the commentators who got it totally wrong could be heard from ringside. I said, we could hear them. I says, now the judges are human. I says, if those judges are watching a tight round, but they're in the commentators going, because remember Cheeseman from London and, oh, Cheeseman won that round easy. I said, that is definitely, and Joe Gallagher jumped onto it and says, yeah, we're on here next week. And I agree with that. And I kind of got ripped into, like, really bad by the Sky and that. Going, oh, as if, what do you know? Sour grapes because you lost the decision. The next week, I'm there as well. There's a glass panel going on the commentators. They're sticking them in like a bowl. So on Twitter, no, actually, I weren't there the next week. I seen it going up and someone told me. So on Twitter, I went, right, answer me this. If I was so wrong, why are you having glass put in front of you this week? I says, because you basically proved my point, and after telling me I was so wrong, because they got me on a podcast and everything, having a go at me, saying you basically, I said, no, I said, I'm just telling you. I says, I know what's what. I said, not everyone knows that decision was wrong. And then the next week, when the glass went up, I was like, I've been vindicated. And then people was going, actually, he's got a point, So that was a bit of a nuisance.
It's got to be an influence, and it's like,
of course.
At that time as well, they were pushing Cheeseman, right? Now I remember that, I watched that at home, and I remember listening to the commentary. It didn't reflect the fault at all. But
of course,
he was the next. They were trying to give him the
so
lift, weren't they?
He was like saying, I'm going to retire if I lose. And when you've got the main promoter, Eddie, turning around and saying, well, Sam's come back from losses before, he'll be fine. But if Ted loses, I think that's him done. Thanks for your neutrality, you know what I mean? Jesus. But it is what it is. And like, I think it's been proved what Sam did afterwards, and Ted had one more fight or two more fights and retired. I think it proved, but it is what it is. It's boxing, and everything happens for a reason. Sam got opportunities that he might not have got without that loss.
Yeah,
it led
like
to.
you were saying earlier, wasn't it? Your losses are your own lessons.
It led to things, but yeah, it was crazy to be part of it. It was really, but I kind of took it as like a mad adventure, like and the second, the one that I went to, a show at Wembley, they changed that from Eddie's back garden to this was done like they kind of commandeered the Hilton next to Wembley, and we had floors to ourselves. But there they'd kind of, because when we was the one at Eddie's, me and Chris Sanagar, because we was in this hotel but there was nothing to do and was walking just laps, and somebody got a video of it and added the Great Escape music to it. So then when they went to Wembley, they had table tennis tables, they had like a game with bowling, and like I was the king of the chessboard. I'm not a bad chess player, and before I got there, people have been playing, and I cleaned up. I was undefeated for the 4 days. I was beating referees. Perhaps I shouldn't have. I was beating board officials. One of the Conlon brothers, they're that similar. I can't tell which one. But one of the Conlon brothers had his own board, and he went, oh, I heard you're the man. 2-0. Whichever Conlon that was, you're a good player, but 2-0. But he brought his own board out. And I thought, here we go. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just batter me after. All right, the penny's mightier than the sword. Bang, have that. No, it's not. But yeah, but he was a really good player. And so yeah, I was killing it. And find the bright spots. You know, all that was going on, and it was hard work, and you know, the work weren't coming in as much as it was, but find the bright spots. Yeah. We done some things that was crazy. We was involved in this, you know, you're in a 24-hour environment with people who, some of them was like big names. And I might be a boxing coach, but I'm still a fan as well. Oh. So I'm chatting, like, you know, when Barry took us over to Vegas for Sam to train with Mike McCallum, I was just trailing around after Mike McCallum for 2 weeks. Mike McCallum actually went to Paul Coonan. How does this guy know so much about my career? And he went, oh, that's just him, you know what I mean? And I actually said to Paul, I says, do you think he minds that I keep asking him stuff when he's loving it? He says, you know, easy. Because we was walking through Vegas with Mike McCallum, who for me was the fifth king. Them guys didn't want to fight Mike. That's quite documented when you look at certain interviews. And we're walking through Vegas, which is meant to be a fight town. Nobody recognised him. And I'm like, are you like idiots? This is Mike McCallum, you know what I mean? So things like that. So as much as I'm a coach myself and I do stuff, I'm still a fan. And like, so in the bubble, I was like around people and like when you're stuck in that kind of, it's us in here, you kind of gel a little bit more and, you know. So I took them positives out of it. There was no traffic. The boxers couldn't cheat and go out clubbing and turn up overweight. I was kind of doing this crazy thing that, again, like I'm scared of flying. Very rare I fly. Like I flew to America because I had no choice. But when sandboxing in Italy, I drove there because I really don't like flying. And like, I didn't drive to Italy for the experience. I drove because I'm terrified of flying. But I drove through the Alps and around Lake Como and along the Italian coastline. And when I showed the lads the videos, I was like, oh, that looks quite good. So I'll find the bright spots in things that are forced on you. COVID was forced on us, but there were certain adventures in there that we'll never ever do again. Wouldn't want to do most of it again, but there's certain bits of it I was like, this is amazing.
And small wins, don't it?
Yes, exactly that. Find the bright spots. So, yeah, and we got lucky enough through my friendship with Mick Hennessy that he was doing his Channel 5 shows in Redditch. And Mick's always been about good fights. And Channel 5's budget wasn't as big, so Mick has to do good fights. Sometimes we've had the biggest names. So our gym's like, what you call it, not theory, you know, like
ethos.
Our ethos is tech the fights. Yeah. That's why Mick got a fight of the year with Sam and that French guy, because we tech the fights. So we was filling them cards up. So all of a sudden I've got like 5 or 6 lads on a TV card. Mick loves it because they're all good fights. The likes of River Wilson Bent, who would never have got them chances, got the chances and then got on TV and stuff like that. Shaq Petter's got his British title fight on there. And it forged a really, because I've known Mick a long time, but never really worked together. And that forged a partnership that has proved really fruitful. And yeah, so COVID was really, really bad. But we found some spots that we enjoyed. But I think that's what you got to do with everything.
Yeah.
You know, people who get to prison, the ones who have got a good mindset, study, learn things, you know. Some people just go and get on spice and mamba and fucking, get off their nuts. But some people go there and turn into
work out and get regime.
Exactly. And that's what we did with COVID. We found the spots and found some good memories. I don't know. So sorry, Val.
Sorry, Val. Yeah.
Val just got brought up as a story, but just my fucking neighbour for years.
So just moving on to filmmaking then. So we've been in similar circles where I come and photograph the premiere.
Yeah.
For your film. For the, how long ago was that now?
5 years. That was the first one. Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah. So tell us how you got into that off the back end of this. So filmed in Shard End, I think you've put on here, filmed in Shard End, honoured in Venezuela in 2018.
And on direct quote on that as well. The Evening Mail said, "You've been seen in some quarters of the new Hitchcock with a left hook."
Yeah, I think they'll say anything to get a headline, won't they?
It's a very bespoke headline, that, isn't it?
Yeah, the only similarity I've got to Hitchcock is we're both fat, I think. You know what I mean? But no, basically, I've always been interested in that kind of stuff. When I retired, I've done a few acting classes because I missed the buzz of the pressure of people watching and having to get it right. And while I was in acting class, I was cast as something, and my bit was right at the end. So I was just writing a script, because I'm always like, well, and people were like, oh, well, I just got the taste for it. And then my daughter become an actor at a very early age, and I didn't quite understand the concept of chaperones. I was like, I'm not leaving my 7-year-old with someone I don't know. I'll do it. And it's like, oh, I says, I'm a boxing coach. I got as much time as I need. I can, so I become her chaperone, like on some stuff. And I was watching. It was interesting. And I made a short film because somebody at the acting class said you can't make a short film without training. It had Richie Woodall in it. It was about a retired fighter getting the call for an unlicensed fight called An Hour of Sleep, based on the premise of Jack London's A Piece of Steak.
Yeah.
You know, where in the old days, but you couldn't do that now because no matter how skint you are, you can get food from somewhere, food bank or somewhere. But what some people haven't got is time. So I've done the same thing. This guy having this fight, coming this close with his old veteran skills, but I replaced the piece of steak where he didn't have the strength because he had Netwell with an hour of sleep because he had to work 15 hours a day. And every time that he goes to get an hour of sleep or even 5 minutes, wake up, you got to put your gloves on, wake up, you walk into the ring. And just, you know, he almost does it and he doesn't. And the final line is for an hour of sleep. And he would, you know, so that was the first one. It got really well received and it's still being watched now. And like, it was like one camera, one light, no actors, just people. And it got.
Was it his first acting gig, Richie's?
I think, no, he didn't.
Did you have it in mind when you was writing it?
No, but he kept asking me because Richie had done some stuff like as extras, like as a body double on Snatch and stuff like that. And he was dead keen. So I wanted to give him something that he could obviously do well. And it was a narration, so there's no lines to learn.
Yeah.
And people still watch it now and say to me, oh, that was really interesting because it was wrote from the heart. And, you know, and then I thought, well, I can learn boxing stuff. Now I want to do something slightly different. So I made one about a game of chess. I like chess, called The Game. Then
you didn't ask one of the Conlons to guest in?
No, I didn't know him then. I didn't know. Oh, I would in future and have him as the loser, you know what I mean? But yeah, and then getting into it, meeting people, and people was complaining that, oh, well, we can't do a feature because there's no money and no this and no that. And I went, don't want to hear no. How do we do it? Well, it can't be done. I ain't that person. So I set about making a feature. Halfway through, I was right. Fuck, they were right. You can't make it with no money. You can't. But I'm balls deep now, so I've got to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to finish it.
So I wrote it about. I had a pub at the time in Shard End, and I wrote it, and then all the people who was on board in the planning stage, because this is what I found in like the film stuff. There's loads of people who love planning, love meetings, love talking about the next project and why he let us down. When we had all the stuff ready and done and I'd filmed it and it was like, they all disappeared. The sound editors, the editors, the sponsors, woomph. Because, you know, they was thinking, well, we didn't think you'd actually do it. Now we've got to do our bit. We're off to have another meeting talking about making one. You know that.
Yeah.
Took me 5 years and everyone was going, it's done. This is what happens. They get left on the cutting room floor. And I was like, no. Why? I took it to different editors. I called in favours. I learned to edit myself. I basically bought a Mac, watched editing for dummies. Didn't do the perfect job, but kind of done the donkey work, putting it together. And 5 or 6 years later, I was ringing round going, it's not perfect because the sound guy abandoned us and it's not perfect. I says, we're having a premiere of The Quiet One. And they're all like, you what? What you? I says, yeah. I says, yeah. You all look older. I said, well, I told you was going to get to watch this film on a cinema screen, and I booked a cinema. We put it on. Yeah, Mockingbird. Put it on, and the Mockingbird was buzzing because at the time they were still going to what's in there.
Did James then?
Yes, yeah. But I got them 3 full houses, one after another, and you know, for the bar and all that. They was like, this is great because I'm on about, you know, and it weren't.
Was that through the Birmingham Film Festival? Because they started there, didn't they? Or was that before that?
No, this was just me showing it. But then the Quiet One, and then it won Best Feature at the Birmingham Film Festival. He won some good awards, and it weren't perfect because it was literally done for like $4,000.
Yeah,
and it was like got abandoned, and I had to. So you know, there's flaws in it, but you know what? It's watchable. It went on to a festival contacted me and went, "Can we put it on Amazon Prime?" And I was like, Yeah, whatever. I didn't even know what Amazon Prime was.
Yeah.
And I said to some of the actors, quite one's going to act at Amazon Prime. I was all like, what? They said, that's brilliant. This was the time where you couldn't just put stuff on, you had to have and I went, what does it mean? They went, no. Then the guy texts me and he says, I'm going to send you some money. I was like, why? He went, oh, but the deal was something like, it was something crazy, like half a penny per 5 minutes watched. Something, stupid.
Yeah.
He was literally on there because I was just like, I don't do that. I do it for a bit of fun. And he sent me a few grand. And he says, this is the most watched indie I've ever worked with. He says, I've got 200 grand American films complaining. He says, I'm using you as my argument, saying, don't come arguing to me because there's a guy in Birmingham who made a film for 4 grand who's outperforming yours times 10.
Why?
And like, obviously, having the likes of Richard Woodall in, I had my daughter in.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of Tracy Beaky fans watch the film, was all sitting there going, what's going on? You know what I mean? Because it was, yeah. So, and it, like, my daughter was only little, but like,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's a watchable film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you know what you're doing, for 4 grand with no help,
Yeah.
it's watchable. It's a Western. It's a modern day Western. Man with no name comes into town. They try and bully him. They find out they bully the wrong one. Yeah. Simple genre, but we did it well. We had fun with it. Also, I had the biggest cast ever because not knowing what I was doing, I was like, yeah, cast everyone. Now I know, you make a film, have a cast of 6 if you got no money.
What you learned for that?
You watched it, how many films did I have? I mean, like, honestly, the cast was about 40 odd. And like, they all had lines, because the way I got people in was like, I can't pay you, but I'll give you a moment where you've got a great line or a great scene. Yeah. So people was like, yeah, if I'm going to get something for my show, well, I'll do it. But yeah, but the locations and that, I was ambitious, and that's why, but it was, like I say, I'd never made one before, I had no money, and I got abandoned. And it was only my determination that I ain't letting this happen. And it took a few years because I was having to, and I'm quite proud of it. A lot of people are like, oh, but you've done much better stuff since. I'm like, yeah, but I did that then.
So again, that's your moment where you've learned so much from it again.
And it's an experience. I enjoyed it. And when everyone got to watch it in the cinema, all the actors, they all, I'd done a red carpet and all that, and they all turned up, dressed nice.
Yeah.
I actually had Michael, I can't think of his name. He was the bad guy in the original Three Musketeers. He's the one who played the sheriff in Nottingham's chief guy. You'll know his face. You've seen him. He come along with a friend from London. And people's going, what's he doing here? He's a famous film guy. And he come up to me and he went, hey man, you've got a film. He says, I'll be honest. He said, come with Pete. He said, I expect a load of rubbish. He says, you've got a film. He says, I enjoyed it. Yeah. And I was like, I'll take that, you know what I mean? And then I've made stuff since, like hour-long stuff, pilots, trying to crack that kind of thing. And they've been much slicker, much better, but still with no money. Yeah. And still, you watch a quiet one, you know about filmmaking. I made that in 10 days. Yeah. An hour of sleep, which is 54 minutes long, I made in a day and a half. And when I tell people that I make it at that pace, they don't believe me. But what I do is I take my boxing ideals onto the film set.
Variable skills. We
don't start at 12 o'clock after everyone's at pizza. I get there early and I set everything up. When someone's not doing something, because I'll always have to do in the boxing, you're doing something else. I get 2 cameras. If I can do some cutaways, that's what you're doing. You're not having a rest because you're a lover and you need it. You're doing something else. Then I'm very good at time management. Yeah. And I'm very kind of motivational. A lot of the actors say to me, you seem to get the best out of me. And I say, I've got 60 seconds to change someone's career sometimes in a corner when they're feeling sorry for themselves. I says, having 10 minutes to chat to an actor about pulling a face is fucking easy compared to that, you know what I mean?
That's true.
So yeah, I take my skills there and get over there. And yeah, it's why my boxing is so fresh, because if you do something all the time, it becomes jaded, it becomes boring, it becomes a job. I go away from boxing and I mix with a totally different kind of people, although similar in ways. I do something that's totally different, that gives me a totally different little buzz. And then the film festivals and all that is another kind of, but I like the competition that's from the boxing side. I love winning things, like the Quiet One won, I think, 11 or 12 awards. Making Friends as World Ends, because I made 2 episodes because people liked the first one that much they wanted another one. That's
Really
won
enjoyed that.
yeah, that's won over 30 something awards between the two. Leap that I made has won 5 or 6 awards.
Where can I catch up with that?
Do you know? I don't know because I only directed it. It's
Sure.
yeah, it's Kia acted in that, and when she's a bit older, he done really well. I only directed it, I didn't write that. So
And the stuff with the Coastal drama group as well, which we
yeah, again,
obviously had doing Arden Hall and stuff.
yeah, that just again,
Getting on there.
yeah, I went there because I kind of went talent scouting, always looking for good actors for my short films. Because the one thing my films have got, they might not have all the big prep and the slickness of a big production, but they've got good actors.
Yeah.
So I went there watching, and I don't act really. But there was doing a read through for a Terry Pratchett play, and I'm a huge Terry Pratchett fan. So I thought I'll read because I just love his books.
Yeah.
So I'm reading, and I read well, you know what I mean? And, I understand, it's like training. I understand boxing now better than ever I did when I boxed. So when you direct things, you understand what you want.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they went, who are you? Will you act? Were you? Because I'd just gone along, I didn't really know. I went, nah, so I'm a bit busy. So I looked at the time, so I went, yeah, you know what, I'll do it. They gave me like biggest role.
What was that one? Because I can watch you.
Weird Sisters.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. It's like a huge.
It's like a jester.
The gesture.
Yeah.
But in the book, if I'd have known that, I'd have been like, oh no.
That was a big.
It was a lot of lines, and I had that, and then I looked, and they're really good people.
Yeah.
And the group's all about what I'm about, community, doing stuff for nothing, but apart from what's good for the community. So I was chatting to them, and I says, like, because it's not cheap. You have to pay for the license and all that. So I says, why don't you write your own stuff? And they went, oh, it's not quite as easy as that. I went, oh, it is. I says, I'll write you something. And I know that I'm a boxing coach, and I look like a boxing coach. I look like what I am. And I know that they were looking, thinking, get out of it. The only thing he's got in common with William Shakespeare is a bald head, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, he's going to write us Rocker.
Yeah, going to write some like that. So I wrote some stuff, and they were open to it. And then I got involved on that side, and I says, right, this is how you sell things. Because again, lovely people, good group, but they're not sellers. They're kind of, that's what, with my boxing shows, I have to, otherwise the lads can't box. So I helped and sell it, and they were just selling it out. And they've, off the back of the murder mystery last year, they've just brought brand new flats. First time they've changed flats in about 30 years.
Right.
They're lightweight and all that.
Yeah.
They bought 2 screens to use.
That actually, they're all spangly, aren't they? Yeah.
Because we've been having full houses, and because they're a community group, whatever they make, they're putting it into their group, and
Non-profit.
I like that kind of stuff.
Now I've noticed their socials got a lot better. And I know you was filming down at the cemetery the other day. Or...
Yeah, no, I didn't have to do with that, but it was guys who I done.
Yeah.
I done it for the last one.
Yeah.
And there was all like,
and
and I said, look, trust me, just go with me on it. I says, because
yeah.
I says, what I've been doing is, it's been working, hasn't it? And they went, oh, yeah, fair play. So they come along, and like literally, it took 10 minutes each person. Then my friend who does the editing added the voiceover. And then I showed them, I think we done 6 for the murder mystery, 6 like little 30 seconds. Basically, you got one of the characters looking away, and you got the voiceover kind of saying like, last year there was a murder in Coastal, surely it can't happen again. And the character just goes, or can it? Just that.
Yeah.
They was having 3,000 views. They all done one each, like the people. We had like 18,000 views of those snippets. And then it was kind of like, oh, okay. I says, your poster in the window's great. I says, you've got to have everything. I says, but so many people look at it.
Yeah.
I says, you've got...
You just got people walking down
So
the
then-
high street, haven't you?
So then this play, because I've been so busy with the boxing, I've out where I can, but I've nothing to do with me. I'm looking forward to just watching it. But I did get my guys, because they was like, can we do some... And the trailer's been released today, actually.
Really?
And they was doing them, in the middle of the graveyard, and they're getting into it. And so it's really good fun. And and like a lot of the time, and this is again my naivety, but I get away with it with enthusiasm. They cast 4 people because it's easy to manage, and that's what we do. And I'm like, right, if you've got 15 people on stage, that's 15 people telling their friends, selling tickets, talking about it. I says, trust me. So when I wrote the murder mysteries, I wrote like an 18-person cast, and then it's like, no way we can do it, and we did it. And I says, I always say, there's no problems, just solutions we haven't found yet. And so we had all these people on, and people enjoying it, and big crowds, and it's like a boxing match. Yeah. If you're performing, you want to perform to a crowd. That's the buzz. You don't want to perform to 3 people. Yeah. So it's a good buzz going, and I'll tell you what, Cosal's an interesting place, because I started doing research, as you do for writing, and I found out there's an elephant buried there somewhere. It died in a circus, and they don't quite know, but they've got an idea. They reckon it's under Morrison's. Then so I put this into the plot. There's these legends of these Cosal tunnels, which I don't think it's just an urban myth, but I put them in the plot. Then for this year's one, because I've linked it up, it's all the same characters. I found out that the first battle of the Civil War was actually at Cosal. They found these, when they was doing the HS2, they found a place where they reckon the first battle happened, there's bullets in it and all that. And it was meant to have happened down the road. So I integrated that into the plot. Then as I'm researching this one, I found out, and this is because the third one, there's going to be a trilogy. The third one is this year. I found out that the projectionist at Cosal Cinema that shot like in the 1940s, the reason why it shot, because the projectionist was a suspected Nazi and fled the country. So I'm like, fucking hell, this is gold, you know what I mean? So it's Daniel Defoe was a visitor there quite regularly, because he was a coach in town that was more important than Birmingham at the time. So anyone going to York for the Royals, Cosal was somewhere they stopped. So it's got loads of history. Yeah. So what I've done is I've read all this in. So all the locals are like Typhoon Tea, the guy who invented it, lived there. And the locals are loving the fact that their town is being talked about. I had to go at HS2. Everyone loved that. Yeah. Because they all hate HS2. Yeah. Basically, the guy in the first one who I played was like there for HS2 to ruin everything, and he gets his head smashed in, and so you just play around with stuff, you have fun, and it's built. And like now, honestly, I've got people going to me, what's happening in the third one? I ain't even wrote it yet. I'm like, yeah, I better get my pen out soon, you know what I mean? But like people are stopping guys in the street, and they're kind of going, yeah, who do you think the murderer will be? And so, because the first one, being myself again, overreaching. They says, oh, the trouble with murder mysteries is, because we're a small place, people will watch the first one and tell. And I went, I'm going to write a different killer every night. And they went, well, how are you going to do that? I went, easy. Halfway through, I'm like, oh my God, this is not easy. Because, with all your threads. Yeah. So basically, I picked one main thread and, one main clue. And each night the killer changed and done that bit. That was our bit. Okay. And it made it work. And then the lady who played the detective and does the denouement at the end, she had the hard job, because each night she'd have to change. Yeah. And like we had 3 suspects. Yeah. And the killer was one of those 3, but the suspects was always like one of the other 2. And so but yeah, halfway through I was like, me and my big mouth. Oh, I'll write 3 different endings. Just saying I will. Now they're all expecting it. But no, they're a great group. Since we've exploited social, we've got an actual girl who does all the social media. It's grown. They're a community group. I'm all about that. The reason, the pro boxing is great. But, the really good bit is the amateur club with the amateur coaches run. I don't even run it, but I go in there and they're amazing. And it's all about that side. So again, making films in Hollywood would be lovely. But for me, doing something like that, I really enjoy it. I love watching people improve and stuff like that. So yeah, people in boxing don't really know about that. So
yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, you probably just outed me, haven't you?
Just wanted your thoughts. I'll see you kind of tweet along to the fights Saturday night.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Riyadh season as a whole? Only because, again, obviously we know the fights are being made now, which we never made, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But in the interview after the Bivol fight, Beterbiev said, when he said, they asked him about a trilogy fight, he said, I didn't even want the second fight. So now he's lost his belts, and now he's got to go back again. He's 40, isn't he?
Yep.
But he kind of implied, I had to fight. I didn't want to fight.
You know what? That's not Riyadh season. That's boxing since day one. You signed to fight. You want the big money. Then that promoter's got a little saying what he wants next. Look, don't go take his money. And yeah, I understand what he's on about, but you know what? You weren't moaning on the first fight when Bivol could have said, oh, I want to do this. No, there's no complaints there. Riyadh season is 90% good. It's good fights. It's great money. It's chances. It seems to be a fresh breath of fresh air where matching's concerned. And you've got kind of like the
Atmosphere.
yeah, that doesn't bother me too much. You got to remember though, old style boxing used to be all guys in suits and no women allowed there. Look at like things in the 80s, everyone in suits with no women in there. So they say that, you know. No, it's more the fact, but this is a fact of all boxing. But Hamza Shirazi's decision, he didn't win that. And the Al Sheikh guy going round and saying, you're 2 rounds down, and the judges saying, oh, I don't know, but that's not a Riyadh season problem, but it might be exaggerated because it's so much bigger and the money's so much better. But on the whole, it's great. It's got Frank and Eddie working together. Who'd have ever thought that? It's got Ben Shalom on the same car, you know. Who'd have thought they'd have worked with him? Even though there's arrows flying everywhere. You know, so, and the guy seems like fights. I don't know. The one little worry I've got is there's potentially the power for him to take over. And as Dana White has proved the UFC, and because people moan about one belt, but a lot of people was avoided when there was only one belt. People get hold of that belt and they'd monopolise. 2 belts, too many belts, yeah, I agree. But 2 belts gives the avoided man, the Charlie Burleys in the 1950s who couldn't get a title shot, who though even a lot of people, good people said he was the best ever, couldn't get a title shot because he was too good. More belts would have meant he'd have been a world champion. But I just worry that they become that powerful that we have a UFC situation, and one of the problems in the UFC is all the guys going, well, we have to just take whatever we're given. The money ain't great. That's why they come over to boxing. They know they're going to get their head punched in boxing, but they're like, we want the millions.
Yeah.
And they deserve it. So that's the only thing. All this money's so good. Is it a long-term plan where they get the control and then say, right, now you do exactly what we say? Like, Beterbiev is moaning there. Imagine if they was the only game in town. At least he has got a choice.
Yeah.
He could have, he didn't want to go and take a third of the money or a quarter of the money, and he didn't want to not be on that big show, but there was a choice. What if there was no other choice? Then it might have been, well, you're taking the fight and you're doing it for what we say.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I worry about. But other than that, it's all good, you know. And
So how do you find, like, with Bacoli stepping in last minute and obviously having no camp, no anything, and
mental,
off the plane, straight through, put his bag down, get in the ring?
Well, he just shown, didn't he? He'd shown what it was. But for him to do that, he's probably been offered life-changing money. And you know what? I think if any one of us got told you're going to do the worst job of your life for an hour, you're going to be okay after it, but it's going to be the worst job of your life for an hour, but afterwards you're going to be set for life, I think we'd all do it. What, an hour of hell or an hour of this? Oh, okay then. You know what I mean?
I suppose sometimes you get the kind of the surprise that, didn't you? Like 7 rounds, Padley sat in with Stevenson, and
that was 9.
It's 9.
Yeah.
Given no chance. Do you find it's a bit funny that they call him electrician still when he's actually boxing?
Yeah,
he's not. He's driving his van to the airport and he's left his tools in the van.
Even though he had big money, he'll be back as an electrician sometime sooner or later, because boxers don't really give up their day job unless they're, you know. But yeah, he grew in stature there, whereas Bacoli, for as much as that payday was there, he's worked really hard to get there, and he might not ever recover from that.
That's because that's the only thing, isn't it? You think like his reputation as again an avoided fighter.
Also, once someone gets knocked out, sometimes they know how to be knocked out. A lot of the time, someone doesn't get knocked out because their brain doesn't know how. You know, it's like whereas once they get knocked out, the brain's a very it's a complex thing. Then that brain goes, hold on, last time I fell over and I was safe and everything was good. And the brain goes, king.
Oh, really? So you get kind of like muscle memory on getting knocked out?
You look when someone gets chinned and all of a sudden they get chinned again. But before that, they couldn't get, because the brain didn't know how to. He's like, and then once it happens once, the brain's literally, remember, your brain does mad things for safety. And the brain goes, oh, if I shut down, it's safe, we'll live. You're safe.
Do you think there's a little bit of that in Joshua from the first Ruiz fight?
Not the Ruiz fight, it's from the Vladimir Klitschko fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a look at it, it weren't Ruiz, he weren't right for Ruiz. Klitschko, he went to the doors of hell. Chin-wise, he got hurt, lung-wise, determination-wise, and I think his body went, I'm never doing that again. You know when Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier says we both felt like we're going to die? We was close to it, and Fraser's corner pulled him out seconds before Ali's corner pulled him out. I think Joshua went there, and I think literally his whole body went, "Don't ever do that to me again." Because if you look after that, even though he won, he weren't great against Takam, against Parker, the killer Joshua. He boxed him. And then against Ruiz, he weren't quite what it happened. And people forget because they look for the loss to see where it happened. But he had a worse time where he won against Klitschko. He went through hell. And a very small percentage are built to do that time and time again. Your body literally goes, don't ever do that again. You know, I'll shut down rather than you doing that to me again. Because I thought it was done.
So do you think that's then where the soul searching comes with kind of what I've got to change my mentality? You start changing your trainers and your camps and your people around you. Now I'm going to try this. I'm going to try and be a bot. Is that all from that, do you think?
Yeah, because they're trying to fix it. They're trying to fix something that is at a core level. And you know what? Joshua hadn't won the world title at that stage. And he was a wealthy man, but he wasn't the multimillionaire he is now. And when you want something that bad, like the first time you climb Everest, you'll get through. People lose fingers in that because they're going to get there. Do you think they'd lose the finger the second time? Or they'd go, well, I've already been up. For fuck's sake. I've only got so many fingers. But the first time, you'll go through a door that you don't know is there. But the second time, when you've conquered that mountain, would you risk your life for it? Or would you go, looking a bit bad, we've got the world record, shall we try it? And I think that's what happens. You know, Joshua he climbed his Everest. He become the world champion, become rich beyond what he could ever spend. And I think then when it's becoming right on top, it's like, well, I've done it. I've won it. I'm a businessman now. And you can't blame him, you know. He's won a world title, for God's sake. And there's people who knock him. It's like...
Matchroom built off the back of him, didn't they, really?
It didn't matter. A lot of people built off the back of him. A lot of British fighters built off the back of him because they got to fight on shows he was on. And people don't realise, you know, because he gets a lot of stick over, you know, because everything's scrutinised. He's a really nice guy. You know, I don't know him. I've said hello at shows, but I know people who know him. He's a really, like, a nice guy when people ain't looking. And that's the important bit. You know, media's media and you do things for the right thing.
Yeah.
But when the cameras are not there, I know from people who know him, he does good things. When he doesn't have to, he does it because it's the right thing to do. So people who knock him, I'm just like, go and win an Olympic gold medal and world titles and earn 20, 100 and whatever million, whatever he's got. Go and do that, then have a knock of him. You know what I mean? Or eat beans on toast to the fourth day running.
Sit at your computer, sending out insults.
So on the whole, but again, I'll try and be a positive person, you know what I mean? So I think there's loads of positives there. The only worst thing for me is you can't drive there. That's the only thing that worries me. I'll have to have some sleepers or something to get there, I would. So, you know what I mean?
Well, we'll wrap it up then. Thanks a lot for your time.
No, pleasure, guys.
Keep an eye out for some new films and all the boxes and...
Yeah, I mean...
You're a man of many talents.
You know, I've been getting itchy to make a short film because I've been doing these plays and the boxing's been busy. I haven't, so I've got a few ideas. So,
Elephants and Nazis are Kozo,
that's play stuff, yeah. But I'm thinking of converting maybe the superhero premise. I'm thinking of converting that to a short film. That could be fun. It's actually probably wrote more for film than a stage, but you know, so
no.
all good. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Cheers for your time. Yeah,
thanks, John.
You. Cheers, mate.